Hi everyone, Callum from Cameron Bike Training here. Just going out for another wee ride by myself and thought we could talk about something else motorcycle related, in this case motorcycle lesson related. So today I thought we would talk about the route to getting your license, how you actually get a license. Now, this is a question I get asked quite often by loads of different people, especially people when they're first starting to go for their tests and they're thinking about wanting to become a motorcyclist. And looking at it, especially when you look at it on sort of the government's site and everything like that, it is quite a complicated process. Certainly it's something that it's quite hard to understand if you know absolutely nothing about it. So hence, here I am to help. So really, there's 4 different steps to getting your license. Your first step is your CBT. I'll talk about that probably in more detail in a different video, but sort of layman's terms, it's a course that's designed to give you all of the fundamentals of riding a bike. It teaches you how to control a bike, and it teaches you how to handle a bike out on the road, and gives you the sort of basics on how to do that. Once you've done that, you've got your theory test to take care of. The theory test, it's kind of similar to theory test for a car. It's split up into 2 parts. You've got the theory test part, which is multiple choice questions, and you've got the hazard perception part, which is watching videos and clicking when you see developed hazards. Again, I'll probably do a video about that in more detail later on as well. Now, other steps to it, the practical steps, you've got 2 tests that you need to sit, the Module 1 test and the Module 2 test. So the Module 1 test is a off-road control-based test. The idea of it is that you do exercises such as slalom figure of 8s, emergency stops, U-turns, and it sort of assesses your ability to control the bike. That's generally the idea of it. Also, all of our manoeuvres are done off-road now. So as I said, with the U-turn, we also do emergency stop and the swerve and avoidance out on the out in the Mod 1 stuff as well. So you don't need to do any of that once you go to do your second test, which is the Module 2 test. The Module 2 test is actually relatively similar to what I'm doing now. It's riding a bike out on the road. You'd have an examiner following you, and that examiner would be telling you where to go and also assessing how you're doing that, okay, and how you're getting there, if you're keeping yourself safe. There are other aspects to the Module 2 test as well. For example, in part of the test, you'll be getting undirected route. So what that means is part of your test you'll get asked to follow the signs to somewhere. So for example, the examiner might say to you, okay, I'd like you to follow the signs to Stirling until I tell you otherwise, and you would just keep on doing that. Now, that's the idea. Once you've done that Module 2 test, you've got a license, you've got a bike license. So, as I said, CBT is your first bit, then your theory, then your Module 1 test, then your Module 2 test, those 4 steps. Now, the bit that confuses people is, how do I get a full bike license? Am I eligible for setting a full bike license, or do I have to wait until I have done my intermediate license? What bike do I need to set my test on, blah 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 blah, etc etc. Now again, no matter what license you go for, you have to do those 4 steps. So if you would set all the tests on a 50cc moped, you will get a 50cc moped license. If you would set all of your tests on a 125cc geared bike, you would get a license for a 125cc geared bike. If you were to set on a 125cc automatic, you would get a 125cc automatic license. So that's the idea there. Now, where it starts to get a little bit more complicated is when we start looking at the full A license and the intermediate license, which is the A2. So the idea between the A and the A2 license is the A2 license is a license that you get which restricts you to 47 brake horsepower, or a bigger bike which is no more than double that power, which has been restricted down to 47 brake horsepower. So for example, if you went out and bought yourself a 600cc bike that had 94 brake horsepower, you could then get a restrictor kit to restrict that down to 47 brake horsepower or less, and you would still be able to ride that in that licence. Now generally, when you're setting that test, you would set that on a light bike, as the DSA term it. So a light bike is generally a sort of 500cc, something along those lines. So we use Suzuki GS 500s for our version of that test. Other companies would use CB 500s or ER5s, that sort of idea there. So you're looking at a sort of bike around that point. Now why would you set that licence? A couple of reasons why you would set that. First one being is you might be too young for setting your full bike licence. So if you're under 24, that's the only licence that's going to be available to you, or certainly the biggest of the licences that will be available to you. Now if you are 24 or above, you can go for the full bike licence. However, there is a quicker way of going for that full bike licence, and that involves the intermediate licence. Now the idea of that is, if you were to say pass your intermediate licence at 19, which is the lowest age you can set that at, if you've held that licence for 2 years after that, so you've now turned 21, you've held that licence for 2 years, you're then eligible to upgrade your licence to a full bike licence, and it does mean that you would have to go and set all the tests again. Now that does sound quite complicated, but if you think about it, it's not really that complicated. Pass the test, hold it for 2 years, and you can set the tests again on a bigger bike. Or if you want to go straight for the big bike, you have to wait until you're over 24. So, who would set a 125 test then? Well, a 125 test is open for anyone who is over the age of 17. So 17 or over. Now, this certainly has a bit of a bee in my bonnet with this. The reason being is the 125 test is kind of made useless. The reason it's kind of made useless is because of CBT. If you get someone who's 17, comes along and does their CBT is valid for 2 years. That's going to be when they're 19. And then when they're 19, they're going to be able to go and set a test on a 500 and get a bigger license. So at the end of the day, you really have to sit there and think to yourself, is it worth doing a 125 test? Well, in certain circumstances it could be. If you think about it this way, you've got your 125, you're commuting to your work on your little 125, and your work is along a motorway. Well, if you set that 125 licence, that would entitle you to go into a motorway. It would also entitle you to take pillion passengers as well. So from that point of view, it could be worth it. However, it's not really worth it for most people. You know, again, if you're thinking about going for that licence and you're thinking about motorways and, you know, taking pillion passengers or anything like that, most people are going to think about cars before they think about 125 motorcycles. But again, there is that option there. So what I generally say to most younger people is when they're 17, get their CBT, ride on it for 2 years, come back, renew their CBT because you need your CBT valid for setting your tests, and then go for the test from there on. Okay, and get your test at 19 on the A2 license. Sorry, pardon me. And then obviously hold that for 2 years and reset again at 21 and go for your full bike license. So that's what most people would do. Now, in all honesty, the most awkward age for giving someone advice is when someone's 21, 22, and they're looking at just getting into biking at that age. Now, the reason why that's a little bit more awkward is they can still only set their tests on a 500 legally. However, they don't have that advantage of holding the test for 2 years and setting it earlier, because by the time that they say they're 22, they've held that license for 2 years, they're going to be 24. So really that just depends on how much you're going to be using the bike for those 2 years. If you're willing to go through all the tests again a second time, then yeah, great. If not, maybe better waiting for 2 years. Again, maybe do your CBT, kick about in a 125 for a couple of years, and then go for your full bike license at 24. Okay, again, this is something that I think the government, when they introduced these licenses, they never thought about the fact that it actually detracts younger riders from getting more tuition, just for the fact that it's not financially viable. They would have probably been better, having some sort of incentive for people to do that 125 license, and certainly for sort of 22, 23-year-olds to do the 500 license as well, because at the moment it just doesn't make sense. There's no point in doing it. Financially, anyway, there is obviously a sense in doing it in the fact that you're going to get more tuition, you're going to spend more time with an instructor, and from that, you're going to be a better rider. Right. So, other things to say about it. The 500 test as well. You don't have to be under 24 to sit it. You could be older than 24 and still sit it. Again, sort of people that would do that would generally be people that are maybe struggling with the size or the weight of a big bike. We've had quite a few people that have gone through the test with us on the 500 where they've just been too small to fit on a 600. So you do get people like that as well that take that option to go out and ride, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Remember as well though that when you're going to school, if the 600s that they have are too small, you do have the option of sitting on a lowered bike, so you could still get a full category A license, but obviously it would be on a lowered bike. There's nothing stopping you from doing that, and certainly that wouldn't be marked on your license. So again, that's an option as well. We've got a couple of lowered 500s and a couple of lowered 600s in our school. Most schools will have at least one. So yeah, that's generally the idea with that. I can't think of much else to say about the licenses. If you've got any questions, then leave a comment down below and I'll try and reply to it and answer the question as much as I can. As I said, it's a little bit awkward, sort of just sit there going in a little lecture about this, and as I said, the more practice that we get in these videos, the better they'll become, we hope anyway. I will leave you at that. So this is Callum signing off, and remember, and keep it shiny side up, folks. Like and subscribe with the video, and I will see you all later. Excellent. Tatty bye.